In this video we're going to take a look at AFL Evolution 2 and see what improvements Wicked Witch need to make from the first game. So a few months back, Wicked Witch announced that AFL Evolution 2, the sequel to 2017's AFL Evolution, was in development and set to release in 2019, most likely in the first half of the year. So far we've heard very little about the improvements and adjustments on the way in Evolution 2, so it seems like the perfect time to take a look back at the first game and see what potential improvements could be on the way in the upcoming sequel. The three main areas of the game that I think need to be focused on are gameplay, coach career, and player career. I really liked AFL Evolution's gameplay. Was it perfect and an exact replica of the sport? No, but it's a great base foundation to build from, and in my opinion, it's the best video game representation of the sport ever made. But it's got a long way to go. The biggest issue a lot of players had with the gameplay is the structure and formation of player positions. You're always limited to having 6 forwards and 6 defenders, and there aren't really any options to do something like having an extra man down back, which is a pretty common tactic in modern footy. And as a result, Evolution's gameplay feels more like footy from decades gone by, where players play true to their position. Something to remember is that the AFL are introducing a bunch of new rules for the 2019 season, including starting positions at centre bounces, which means teams must each have 6 players in the 50-metre arcs at centre bounces. This news was probably music to the ears of those at Wicked Witch, as it essentially makes the real game a lot more like how Evolution represented it, and therefore might save them a lot of work. In saying that, they still should bring these tactics into the game, as we'll probably still see stuff like loose man down back throughout AFL games in 2019. I'd also like to see more of a ground game added to Evolution 2. By that I mean something to more realistically represent the fight for possession of the footy when it's on the ground. Evolution really did this better than any previous game with its collision system and the ability to tap the ball on, so continued improvements and refinements to this would really help. Now when it comes to coach and player career, there are a ton of improvements that could or should be made, so I'll just give some of the ones I think are needed. With the 2018 season pack update for Evolution, we finally got waffle, sandful and kneeful sides added to the game. This is extremely important for career mode, as it means we now have every state league affiliate side for the AFL teams. And with that, I'd like to see more of a connection between these teams. For example, if I'm coaching Freo, I want to receive weekly updates on how Peel Thunder is going, and a full stats breakdown of their games, so I have a better idea of how my Freo listed players are performing at waffle level. In Evolution, if one of your players isn't playing well at AFL level, then you replace them with another player based purely on their rating. So in Evolution 2, we need to know who's playing well in the state leagues, and more importantly, have a momentum system that enables players to bring their good form from the state level over to AFL level. Also giving us the option to watch or play our state league affiliate games would be a handy inclusion. I'd also like to see adjustments made to contract negotiating in coach career. In Evolution, it's only possible to negotiate contracts at the end of the season, so being able to see current contract situations and work on negotiations throughout the season would really help when it comes to planning the long-term future of your team. Be that coming up with a draft or trade strategy to replace leaving players, or even spending a season developing a young player in a succession plan for retiring grades. I'd also like to see the magnificent custom creation tools in the game be used to create your coach in coach career mode. While this really isn't something that's important, it'd still be a nice addition to have a visual representation of the coach you're playing as. AFL Evolution added the first real player career mode to AFL video games, and while I appreciated it being there, it was extremely bare bones and clearly the very starting point for this mode. Evolution 2 needs to make a lot of improvements to this mode, including an actual draft. I understand some people who play the game like having the option to pick their favourite team from the get-go, but for those players who want the full AFL experience, there should be an option to enter the draft and have the team you end up at be completely random. And obviously your form in the State Leagues or TAC Cup in previous seasons decides where in the draft you get selected. Our players also need to be dropped if they perform poorly at AFL level. In Evolution, your player can do absolutely nothing and still get selected every week. So again, now we have all the State League affiliate sides, we can have players be dropped and more importantly, have to work their way into the team. If my player gets drafted to West Coast, he should have a harder time getting into the starting lineup than if he gets drafted to Carlton or Gold Coast. I'd also like to see more communication between players and coaches in the mail system in both coach and player career. As a coach, I need feedback from my players as to what they think of the team and their form at the moment, and as a player, I need feedback from my coaches after every game, and some kind of grading system similar to FIFA and NBA 2K that tells me how I'm playing during games. Player career also needs a lot of improvements to its gameplay, but specifically I'd like to see options so I can switch my camera to focus on my opponent, similar to the ball cam option in Rocket League. While Evolution does allow you to switch the camera focus from the ball to your goals, it's extremely frustrating trying to follow around an opponent when they've run out of camera view and you have no idea where they went. This would also make it easier to play as a tagger in the midfield if that's what you wanted to do. That'd probably be extremely boring, but it could also be a fun challenge trying to shut down some of the best midfield guns in the game. One of the big questions for Evolution 2 is, will it include AFL X? Wicked Witch chose not to add it to the game in the 2018 season pack, which is understandable as no one really knew what it was actually going to look like. But with a new game and being 12 months on from the first AFL X tournament, you'd have to think that Wicked Witch are exploring the possibilities. With Big Ant recently releasing Big Bash Boom, it could also inspire Wicked Witch to try a slightly more arcade-based standalone title for AFL X. So these are just some of the improvements I'd like to see in AFL Evolution 2. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave them down in the comments section below. While you're down there, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications.